Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Sadashiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam. Ramo Rajamanis Sada Vijayate Ramam Ramesham Bhaje Ramena Bihata Nishacharachamu Ramaya Tasmai Namaha. Ramannasti Parayanam Parataram Ramasya Dasosmyaham Rame Chittalaya Sada Bhavatu me Bho Rama Mamuddhara Samasta Janakalyane Niratam Karunamayam Namami Chinmayam Devam Satgurum Brahma Vidvaram Satgurum Brahma Vidvaram. Om Apyayantu mamangani Vak pranaschakshushrotramatho balamindriyani cha sarvani Sarvam Brahma Upanishadam Maham Brahma Nirakuryam Ma Brahma Nirakarot Anirakaranamastvanirakaranam me astu Tadatmani nirateya upanishatsu dharmaha Te mayi santu Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Keneshitam patati preshitam manaha Kena pranah prathamah praiti yuktah Keneshitam vachamimam vadanti Chakshushrotram kaudevo yunakti Shrotrasya shrotram manaso manoyate Vacho havacham sa upranasya pranah Chakshushaschakshuratimuchyadhiraha Pretyasmallokadamruta bhavanti. Sorry, I realized I didn't share my screen for online audience. Give me 1 second. Okay, now it should be good. One disciple went to a guru and asked this question: how many Upanishads do we need to study to get moksha? How many Upanishads do we need to study to get moksha? What do you think is the answer? At least one thoroughly. Thoroughly word is important. Huh? Means if we can tune with one Upanishad precisely in the way that the Upanishad Rishi is trying to communicate, and make that as our way of thinking, that Upanishad has spoken to us. Whichever Upanishad it be, not worrying about it has to be only Mandukya, otherwise I will not study anything else. Why? Because it is said Mandukya eva alam. That is true. If that is the Upanishad, so be it. But one at least should be there, which is very, very thoroughly well understood and digested. So this Upanishad, appreciating the question of the student, that where did he start? He has lived a good life, done satkarma, and now he is not getting any questions about the world. Bhagwan Shankaracharya ji pointed out in Sambandha Bhashya that this word Keneshitam, it has so many things hidden behind it. So that Sambandha Bhashya was just to elaborate that point. Who will get this question? Keneshitam patati preshitam manaha. Only that person who has vairagya and he doesn't have question about the world, not even about the mind, that person is Adhikari of Upanishad. So if I have to benefit from this Upanishad, I have to make sure that I appreciate that question. Little bit step further is, this becomes my question. When we start studying Vedanta, we might have so many questions. But only after studying Vedanta, you realize what should be our real question. In terms of what is the nature of truth, that alone should be the question of the student. All other questions are part of sadhana. Either it is about the mind or the world or some vyavahara. All of that falls in sadhana. So answer will fall in dharma. Should I do this or should I do that? How should I take decisions in life? A lot of perspectives are given in Dharma Shastra. Dharma Shastra, for us to understand, you can say, wherever values are discussed. Bhagavad Gita 12th chapter, 13th chapter, where Bhagavan discusses what are the qualities of bhakta, what are sadhanas for jnanam, or even jivan mukti lakshanas in 2nd chapter. All of that is for transactional, vyavahara. But Upanishad student, he says, I feel very, anxious if I start discussing any other topic than Brahma. Because he says, that is what I'm looking for, not anything else. So accordingly, our sadhana will also start getting fine-tuned. Sometimes sadhakas have this question. I do meditation with form and I do Vedantic meditation also. Should I do it on the same day? Like 15 minutes devotional meditation, 15 minutes Vedantic meditation, or is it in sequence? Or how does it work? So it is said, as our quest becomes more and more fine-tuned, so our own mind will get drawn towards one or the other. And that we should be very watchful. And every day this mind is not going to be the same. One day it will just refuse to do Vedantic meditation. You say Jagat is Drishya, Jagat is Mithya. He says no. Something is very pressing at that time. If that mind can seek support from Bhagavan, so that meditation is what I can do at that point. But main thing is, this practice should make its way into our routine, practice of meditation. If not for 1 hour, at least half an hour. If not half an hour, 15 minutes. If not 15 minutes, 10 minutes. But not dropping it on any day. We are going so slow in the Bhashya part, every mantra, so that it seeps in. When you read that mantra, it should again come to mind, what are the things we discussed? And if that clarity is there, meditation will be deeper. You will have a lot of mananam done already, so you can effortlessly take it for nididhyasana. Otherwise, meditation will give a lot of doubts. And wherever there are doubts, there is agitation. So I might keep saying that Jagat is Mithya, Jagat is appearance, I am different from assemblage. But internally, I will not accept it. So that part I should be careful about. So first mantra was the question the student asked. And second mantra was the answer that the teacher gave. And we saw several points. Why did he give that answer in this way? All those pointers we saw, because Atma doesn't have action of its own. It will always be pointed out through some conditioning, but I should develop this ability to go beyond words. To go beyond words, not get stuck with any conditioning. Puja Gurudev has a quote, right? I think in one video also he says that all our rishis, whenever they gave us Upanishad mantras, they were pointers. So I should develop the ability to shift from pointer to pointed. So that is what this mantra does. Shrotrasya Shrotram. Ear I know. But through what I know, I should shift attention to that Chaitanya. Don't say Chaitanya is unknown. Huh? Sometimes we say through the known, shift attention to unknown. If you say unknown, then it will be some mystic thing. Because it is known as Aham only, but my attention is not there. I don't realize the point that conditionings are an appearance in that Chaitanya. This I have to again and again remind myself. Okay. So these were the two mantras. The third mantra was the means. If that is where we have to go, abide in that Atma swaroopa Chaitanya, what is the means available to me to go towards that goal? First mantra question, second answer, third is means. We'll chant it together. Na tatra chakshur gacchati, na va gacchati, no manaha, na vidmaha, na vijanimaha, yathai tadanushishyaat, anyadeva tadviditad atho aviditad adhi, iti shushruma purvesham, yenas tadvyacha chakshire. Na tatra chakshur gacchati. Eyes cannot go there. Na vag gacchati. Speech cannot go there. No manaha. Mind also cannot go there. So what were these things? Chakshur gacchati, na tatra chakshur gacchati means pratyaksha pramana cannot reveal it. Eyes, ears, none of them. Na vag gacchati means laukika shabda pramana cannot reveal it. Laukika shabda means it is not somebody's opinion. Somebody cannot just say, I will sit down in a room and write an essay on Brahma. You see, no matter how precisely you write that essay, that laukika shabda pramana cannot reveal nature of Brahma. I mean, these are indicators. Huh? Whenever you want authenticity in a teaching, check whether references are coming from Upanishads. If that is not there, no matter how appealing the teaching looks, it is not authentic. That is what it means, na vag gacchati. It is nobody's opinion. It is Shastra which is revealing nature of Atma. And no manaha. Mind also does not go there. Meaning what? Anumana pramana doesn't reveal nature of Atma. Pratyaksha, laukika shabda and anumana. Actually speaking, if pratyaksha does not reveal, all other pramanas follow pratyaksha. Right? Even anumana pramana, you need vyapti. You need data for gathering your hetu, drishtanta. And vyapti, grahanam will happen through anumana, pratyaksha only. And pratyaksha, we should remember, includes all sense organs. Eyes are predominant, but ears are also pratyaksha. Skin is also pratyaksha. Okay, aksham aksham prati, whatever is revealed. And then Bhagavan said in Bhashya that karta and karma cannot be the same. You can say Ramaha gruham gacchati because Rama is karta, gruham is karma or the object towards which it is going. You cannot say Ramaha ramam gacchati. So kartru karma virodha will happen if you say eyes, ears and all these other sense organs are revealing Atma. Because Atma is a substratum of all of them. Atma reveals eyes, Atma reveals speech, Atma reveals the mind. And if you flip the order, that is where Bhagavan said, Kartru karma virodha will happen. The knower is Atma only. So knower cannot or need not know itself in that way. Okay. And what was the example given? Fire. Very beautiful example, but very precise. Fire can burn wood very well, but fire need not burn itself very well. It's very odd to say that also, right? Fire burnt itself very well. So that is the Kartru Karma Virodha part. Just to explain this one line. Na tatra chakshur gacchati, na vag gacchati. Na vidmaha, na vijanimaha, yathai tadanushishyaat. So Upanishad Rishi said, we don't know of any other way to teach other than Shrotrasya Shrotram, means teaching without objectifying. We don't know any other way to teach. Na vidmaha, na vijanimaha, yathetad anushishyat. We have also learned from our teachers in the same way, and we will also teach in the same way. That is why later when the student comes and says, Naham manye suvedeti, no na vedeti vedacha, he remembers this line. Na vidmaha, na vijanimaha. Na vidmaha doesn't mean the teacher doesn't know. Na vidmaha means he's saying we have not known it as an object and we will not teach it also as an object. So don't get frustrated if our answers sound cryptic. Ear of the ear, eye of the eye. He says, think more, you will get the answer for yourself. Okay. Then came Anya Deva Tad Viditat Atho Aviditat Adhi. Okay. This was the Mahavakya of Kenopanishad, where Bhagavan said, because it is not known as an object, because it is not revealed by eyes, ears, don't say that it is not known at all, or say that it is impossible to know Brahma. He says, no, through Mahavakya, it is very well known. It is very well understood. So to remove that doubt, this part has come, which is Mahavakya. Anya Deva Tad Viditat Atho Aviditat Adhi. So what was the meaning of the word Vidhita? What all things fell under the word Vidhita? You can type also, huh? Don't hesitate. At the most, it will be known by someone somewhere, but Vedanta Sara language, if you want to use. Entire Sthula and Sukshma. That was Vidhita. Gross and subtle, both becomes known. Thought is subtle, but I know it. And the world outside, Panchikaranam has happened, it is gross, and I know it. So Brahman is different from gross, different from subtle. What is the third option remaining? Avidita. Avidita means Karana. Sthula Sukshma we saw. So third one is Karana. So Anya Devatad Viditat. Brahma is different from Vidita Prapancha, Sthula Sukshma. Atho Aviditat Adhi. It is also different from Maya or Karana Upadhi. And that's why Bhagavan said, none of these things in Vidita or Avidita can become my goal of life. Why? Because Brahman is goal of life, right? Brahma is what I am seeking. I should not get stuck in anything in the world outside, nor should I get stuck in anything related to mind. Avidya I should remove and make sure that in Brahma I abide. Now I'll give some reflection question. In Vedanta Sara, we have seen Adhyaropa and Apavada. Right? Adhyaropa means what? Vastuni avastu aropa. In Chaitanya, we are superimposing some attributes. And through that, Chaitanya, we are shifting attention to. And Apavada is when all conditionings are removed. In Kenopanishad, how is this prakriya followed? Which part is Adhyaropa? Which part is Apavada? Okay, you don't have to answer right now. Think about it. Because Anya Devatad Viditat Atho Aviditat Adhi, or the teacher is saying that the only technique of teaching is Adhyaropa Apavada. In any Upanishad you study, one part will be Adhyaropa, another part will be Apavada. But more we reflect upon this prakriya, a lot of things will open up for us. I will realize, oh, this creation process is described in Mundaka Upanishad. That was part of Adhyaropa. And then one more mantra will come for Apavada. In Mandukya also, the first part is the Adhyaropa prakriya, Upasana prakriya. And then seventh mantra is Apavada. So in Kenopanishad, where is Adhyaropa being done and where is Apavada being done? In the first two chapters only. Because later chapters, of course, it's more clear. But in these two chapters, you can reflect on that. Okay. And the last one was, this was, I think, a side point we had seen, right? If Atma is self-effulgent, it always reveals itself, then why do we need Guru and Shastra? Because it is self-revealing, right? Anybody should know, everybody should know. Why do we need to go to a teacher? Why do we need to study Shastra? So there we had taken the example of the 10th man, that although the 10th man is very well known, but sorrow doesn't go unless this knowledge comes that this 10th man I am. So Atma is ever experienced as this Aham. But what I don't know is this Aham is Asanga, it is unborn, it is Ananda Swaroopa. All these things are as though hidden from me. And it is hidden in my buddhi only. I just have to bring that correct understanding in my buddhi. I don't have to get anything from outside. But Atma Lakshana should become my Lakshana. First part is to appreciate or understand Atma Lakshana well. Know precisely what is nature of Atma. Second is being very comfortable in saying that this Lakshana is my Lakshana. And more this mind is devoted to Bhagavan, easier it is to accept. Easier it is to internalize what Vedanta is saying. Because we should ask ourselves, what is it that stops me from owning up this truth? What is it that stops us from owning up our nature as Jagat Karanam? See, something of this Vyavahara will pull us out. Kama esha, krodha esha, rajoguna samudbhava. We said, why is it, enemy? Why is it enemy of Jnani, Kama and Rajoguna? Because it pulls us out from our swaroopa. Means it says, right now, you are not Brahma. Or, right now you take care of this thing, later you see. So that part will slowly change or should change with bhakti. Vyavahara taken care of through devotion, Paramartha abidance through jnanam. Okay. So this part also we had seen. Iti shushruma purvesham yenastad vyacha chakshire. He says this is time-tested knowledge. It has come through a very thorough parampara. We don't have to fear about authenticity, efficacy, anything of this knowledge. Okay. Then we had mantra 1.4 until 1.8. These were all possible errors. Okay, Upasana mantras they were, or mantras for an Upasaka. Shall we chant together? Yadvachanabhyuditam yena vagabhyudyate tadeva brahmatvam vidhi nedam yadidam upasate yanmanasana manute yena hurmano matam tadeva brahmatvam vidhi nedam yadidam upasate yachakshusha pashyati yena chakshumshi pashyati tadeva brahmatvam vidhi nedam yadidam upasate yachrotrena nashrunoti yena shrotramidam shrutam tadeva brahmatvam vidhi nedam yadidam upasate yat pranena na praniti yena pranah praniyate tadeva brahmatvam vidhi nedam yadidam upasate. So here we had seen the student has a doubt. He says, Upasya can be Brahma. Means what I am worshipping, that can be Brahma, that can have all these wonderful qualities. Nirguna, Ananda Swarupa, Jagat Karanam, asanga, nitya, unborn. So I'm okay to have all those titles for Upasya. But he says, how can Upasaka also have the same qualities? That was his question. He said, I'm okay with Upasya being Brahma, but Upasaka is not Brahma. This Upasaka is a jiva. I do things for happiness. I go from one world to another world. How do you say that this Upasaka is unborn, Ananda Swaroopa, and so on? So to answer that student, these set of mantras were pointed out. An important thing to note here is Bhagwan elaborated every word. In the sense, if you say Yad Vacha Anabhyuditam Yena Vag Abhyudyate, it is not known by speech, it is that because of which speech becomes known or speech becomes revealed. So Bhagwan elaborated on what is speech. Ashtadasha sthaneshu, how that air strikes at different points, all those things elaborately he discussed. The question should be, why was it discussed? You could have just said, whatever you speak, that is your speech, and the one that enlivens that speech is Brahma. So why was that speech discussed in so much elaboration? If you notice, every point was discussed. Fifth mantra is about mind. So mind was elaborated. What is mind? What is nature of mind? And then Bhagwan said, it cannot be known by this mind. If it cannot be known, why are you elaborating it so much? Same with even chakshur vritti. Different indicators were given for eyes. For ears also it was said. For prana, so much of elaboration was done. You can think more. I will share a few thoughts. All this is part of Upasana. Meaning, the student is advised to do Upasana with mind. He says, meditate upon mind as Brahma. Meditate upon prana as Brahma. Like this, one support is given, and meditating upon that support as Brahma. That is Upasana. But before I start meditating, I should know what that support is. And I should also know what are the similarities with Brahma. So whenever support for Upasana is given, it always has Samyamsha with Brahma. Samyamsha means similarity. If you say prana, right? Without prana, this body cannot survive. Prana is the most essential thing. In the same way, without Brahma, this creation cannot exist. So, O student, meditate upon prana as Brahma. So there will be similarities. So that is one reason why Bhagwan elaborates. Every word, prana he elaborates, speech he elaborates, so that Upasaka knows what are the similarities between Brahma and the Alambanam, support. Second is to show that all these conditionings are appearing in Chaitanya only. That's why if you notice the description, even when Bhagwan describes mind, he will bring Chaitanya in there. He says, mind is that which is enlivened by this consciousness. Prana is that which is enlivened by this consciousness, even eyes, ears. So Chaitanya word he will add everywhere, which we would miss very easily. Even if you say, describe what is Jiva. Describe what is a finite individual. Most of the times we will start only with conditionings and we will stop with conditioning. Right? We will say this is Stula Sharira, Sukshma Sharira, Karana Sharira, and so on. But Chaitanya will not be included in and through that process. And in Adhyaropa, we had seen in Vedanta Sara that even when Adhyaropa is done, we should include Chaitanya. The meaning of Vacyartha is when Chaitanya is pointed out along with conditionings. Vacyartha doesn't mean only conditionings. Vacyartha means consciousness pointed out along with conditioning. Aviviktam sat Mahavakyasya Vachyam. Means if you don't separate conditioning from Chaitanya, pointing out Chaitanya in that way, along with conditioning, is called as Vacyartha. Viviktam sat Lakshyam. If you separate consciousness from conditioning and understand conditioning to be mithya, that is called as Lakshyartha. Okay? This point takes a long time to appreciate what is Vacyartha, what is Lakshyartha. Because we feel sometimes Vacyartha means literal meaning, right? So this body is Vacyartha. The conditioning itself is Vacyartha. We say no. Consciousness pointed out with conditioning is Vacyartha. Consciousness minus conditioning is Lakshyartha. Okay? The main essence of this entire discussion was bhakti should become sadhaka in jnanam. It should become sadhaka, means it should help us attain jnanam, not badhaka. Badhaka means it obstructs us from understanding the truth as nirguna. So it should not lead to any kind of duragraha. Duragraha means erroneous insistence. It is considered as one of the obstacles on the spiritual path. If I have full Shraddha in Upanishad, just like I had Shraddha in Purva Mimamsa, I should have the same Shraddha in Uttar Mimamsa also. Purva Mimamsa means that talks about karma, that talks about jiva, going from one loka to another loka. Or if I say devotional part, Upasana part, if I have Shraddha in, that same Upanishad is talking about Vedanta also. Right? Same Vedas are talking about Nirguna Brahma also. So that part I should not just brush aside. Both are important and we should appreciate the right perspective. If somebody is only jnani, means only Vedanta without bhakti, very soon we will realize our life is the same as before. Means our vyavahara is the same as before. All anxieties are there, anger is there, And I have Brahmajnanam also. Means I can explain how I am not this mind, how I am not this body. What are the three avasthas? Then there is a lot of hollowness felt inside. And the sadhaka wonders, what am I doing? Right? Before studying Vedanta, I was facing life in one way. After studying Vedanta, also I am having the same way of facing life. Then what has Vedanta actually done? So there it is said, the krutopasti part, means bhakti part, that is missing. And if somebody has thoroughly understood Vedanta, they will become devotees. Thoroughly understood Vedanta. Why am I saying this? You should not buy my statement just like that. You should question it. How do you say that if somebody thoroughly understands Vedanta, they will become devotees? In Vedanta, we say we should understand Vacyartha first. Mahavakya, Tatpada, Tvampada, we should understand literal meaning first. Tvampada Vacyartha is what? Tvampada Vacyartha is Jiva. Why are you so afraid? Consciousness with conditioning is Tvampada Vacyartha. It is Jiva. Tatpada Vacyartha is what? Bhagavan. So before I go to understand Lakshyartha of Mahavakya, I have to understand Vacyartha first. So if I have understood Tatpada Vacyartha, nature of Bhagavan, and how Vyashti is not different from Samashti, that is what is devotion. Right? Vedanta Sara is a beautiful text for that. So systematically it's pointed out that Samashti Upahita Chaitanya is Bhagavan, and that is the Vacyartha of Mahavakya. That is why that whole discussion is there. Vyashti, Samashti, Upadi, all discussions are for that purpose. Meaning to prepare us for Mahavakya. And in and through that, so many sadhanas are pointed out. Right? Devotional sadhanas are there. How to dissolve Vyashti in Samashti, that sadhana, main sadhana it is. So bhakti should become sadhaka, not badhaka in jnanam. These mantras are only for that purpose, not to take it in any other meaning. So we should be very careful while interpreting these mantras. Don't get too caught up with nedam yadidam upasate. Puja Guruji would say, saguna rakhuni nirguna bolave. Saguna rakhuni means protecting saguna, one should speak about nirguna. Protecting saguna means not that saguna needs our protection. Protecting the shraddha for saguna. Sometimes in Vedanta what happens is, we are not fully established in nirguna brahma yet, and we lose our shraddha for saguna brahma. So neither we are here nor we are there. So all, in Guruji's words, he says, saguna also went, nirguna also went, durguna remained. So that is not what we want. Go very slow and make sure that we settle down. In Upasana, means in my vyavahara, no matter how pressing the situation looks, I should be able to put everything in Bhagwan's lap and go to bed. Like whom? Like Arjuna. You know Jayadratha, right? Next day he takes that vow and he was sleeping very nicely the previous day. So Bhagwan asked him, aren't you going to plan? He said, Bhagwan, I know you are going to plan. When you are there with me, why should I fear that what is going to happen tomorrow? So that kind of shraddha, if it comes. In our Memorial Day retreat is called Disconnect to Connect. And I was thinking, they gave the title first and I was thinking later actually on that title. I said, this is a precise definition of Sharanagati. If I can disconnect from my worry and connect to Bhagavan. Now that worry might be different for different people. Child will have their own concerns. Youth will have their own concerns. Adults will have their own. But am I able to let go of all of that on the strength of the power of the Lord? If that happens, then devotion has fulfilled its purpose. Right? After second chapter, look at Arjuna as though he has forgotten the war. Can you imagine how somebody can be that, surrendered unto Bhagavan, that he is not asking even one single question? That what is the formation? Duryodhana is there. What should we do? Nothing he asks. And that can come only with Sharanagati. That he knows Bhagavan is with him. He doesn't have to worry too much. Become too anxious about what will happen to my vyavahara. Okay. Means you see the questions he asks, right? After 12th chapter, he's asking if Saguna Upasaka is better or Nirguna Upasaka is better. And we should remember the whole war depended upon Arjuna. Sometimes we might be involved in some project, involved in some activity, but we are not the main role players. We are part of that. But imagine if you are responsible for the whole thing and still you have this ability to disconnect. That virtue we should appreciate in Arjuna. Okay. This whole part was Upasana, how unconditioned Brahman is the absolute reality. 2.1 was the cryptic test by the teacher. He said, Yadi manyase suvedeti dabhramevapi nunam tvam vetha brahmano rupam yadasya tvam yadasya deveshu athanumimamsya mevate manye vidhitam. This mantra also tells a lot about the pedagogy. The pedagogy in Vedanta. Somebody was recently asking that, when I discuss Vedanta with some other co-sadhakas, in particular those who don't have this background, how should I make sure that they've actually understood what I'm saying? Because I might, talk about karma, I might talk about Brahma, but I don't know whether they have understood or not. So Vedanta, what is Vedanta's answer? You need not worry about it. Because that is not the goal. The goal is never to convince other person or to, answer somebody's question. Purpose is for us to remove erroneous notion about aham. If I say, I have woken up from dream, but I want to go and finish few pending things in dream. There are few people, I want to just tell them few things and then I will wake up, come back. He said, no, you don't have to do that. Either you have woken up or you are asleep. So even this desire that I have to convince somebody else, that is bondage only. All conversations are for clarity purposes, not for convincing purpose. Why did I bring up this point? The teacher uses the word yadi manyase suvedeti. Means even teacher has the doubt whether the student has understood or not. That is why he says, if you have not understood, or if you say that you have understood it very well, then you have to think again. That's why Bhagavan said, Bhagavan Shankaracharya ji, that some students will get it right away. Some students will get it after some time, like Indra. Some students will just not get it, like Virochana. 3 examples were given. Right? So depending upon this spectrum of students, teacher is saying, yadi manyase suvedeti. Is giving benefit of doubt. You might have understood, but just in case, if you are thinking in this way, correct your thinking. When teacher is least concerned, whether the student is actually getting what he is teaching. He says, this is the teaching, will continue to teach. You have to tune yourself with this understanding. It is not holding on to one idea and try to change that idea or anything. Okay. What is the word used in Taittiriya Upanishad? Antevasi. Antevasi Shishya means what? One who constantly tunes with the teacher's understanding. In any field for that matter. Any art form you take, science, music. If the student can appreciate what the teacher wants, that is the tuning between teacher and the student. Or Brahma Vidya is also like that. So teacher is consistently repeating what is the nature of knowledge and he expects the student to tune to it. He says, don't say that you know Brahma very well. You know very little if you think in that way. If you know Brahman conditioned with individual conditioning or total conditioning, both are limited knowledge. Adhyatma parichinna Brahma or Adidaiva parichinna Brahma, both are limited understanding. Yadasya tvam yadasya deveshu athanu mimamsam yavate. Don't worry. Don't feel very afraid or don't feel that, oh, I spent so much of time and now you are telling me that it is erroneous knowledge. That can also happen. Huh? They were staying there for 12 years. So last convocation day, teacher says, what I've understood is, actually not the right understanding. He says, no, you just have to go and reflect a little more. Athanu mimamsam evate. Just do mananam on how can I know Nirguna Brahma very well. Only attributes can be known very well. So if I make that statement, I am mixing some attribute with Brahma. That is how you should do manana. Okay, so this was that Stuna Nikhanana Nyaya, the pole getting shaken. And Shankaracharya ji said it is better that the teacher shakes it than that student getting shaken in the world. In the world meaning what? Sometimes we are amidst people who are more learned than us. And sometimes it is better to stay quiet and listen to them. Because whenever we study Vedanta, we feel we have mostly understood the whole thing. Yet with Tattva Bodha only, that feeling comes. Oh, what is there in Vedanta? Tvam-pada, Tat-pada, Aikya. Right? That feeling comes. But there are many nuances, lot of things to learn. So that we should be very, very careful. Perennial learners, that is what we should strive to be. So this was the example of fire. That fire can burn wood very well. So Brahma can say, I know Anatma very well. But Brahma cannot say, I know myself very well. Because if you know that you are Brahman, then the statement that I have known Brahman very well means some attribute is coming in. Some objectification is happening. Be very careful there. Okay. Now these icons I am showing, you should appreciate what is the point also. They are not just to fill up the slide or visual delight objects. What does this icon symbolize? In the language of Kenopanishad, Adhyatma Parichinna Brahma or Adhidaiva Parichinna Brahma, both are limited understanding. If I say that space, that is the pot space, is the only space that I know, or I say that space is always recognized as the spot space, that is limited understanding. Or I say, oh, no, this spot space is not so small, it is big. How big? As big as this room. As big as that room. This is, that is also limited understanding. So Chaitanya conditioned by Vyashti Upadhi or Adhyatma Upadhi as Jiva, that is limited understanding. And same Chaitanya conditioned by Adhidaiva Upadhi. That is like saying that this space is as big as this room. Both are limited. I should know that space is unlimited. Unconditioned by Vyashti, unconditioned by Samashti. Okay. And here Bhagavan Shankaracharya ji said that all other darshanas are also included. When they say Suveda iti, all other darshanas which talk about knowing Brahman very well, they are also included. Now 2.4 mantra we have studied, right? So you'll appreciate this point better. That how so many darshanas went on to say that our understanding of Brahma is mind, our understanding of Brahma is body, ahankara. Some or the other anatma was understood as Brahma. So this mantra is also referring to them. Yadi manyase suvedeti dabhram evapi nona. Athanu mimamsa mevate, reflect more upon this. Okay. Then the cryptic response by the student. Naham manye suvedeti nona vedeti vedacha yonas tadveda tadveda nona vedeti vedacha. He doesn't get shaken. He goes in solitude, does mananam, and again comes back. And now he is repeating the same Mahavakya in his own words. That is how mananam should be. Listening to that same thing, digesting it well, but when you present it, meaning should not be changed. Sometimes in the pursuit of originality, our main essence only becomes different. Or sometimes in the pursuit of finding examples, we miss the main point. Drishtanta comes after pratigna and hetu. Means you should make your point, explain why you are saying that, and to clarify it, to help you see that final understanding is drishtanta. But sometimes when we do our own mananam or we discuss with others, we have example after examples, not realizing what is the main point in that example. But over here, what is said is, Naham manye suvedeti. He says, I don't think or I don't say that I know Brahman very well. Na'u na veda iti. Nor do I say I don't know. So in this way, I know and I don't know. In simple words, he says, Brahma is always recognized as aham. So never should I make the statement that I don't know Brahma. But at the same time, I am not mixing some conditioning and knowing it. That is why I am not saying that also, that I know Brahman very well. Only this much. If conditioning is mixed, then suve the word will come. If conditioning is removed, then it is aparoksha aham, without conditioning. Okay, and he says, amongst these students, whoever understands what I just said, they have understood. Last study group we were discussing, is this some arrogant statement the student is making? We say this Upanishad Acharyas, they were such that they would present things in a way that meaning will get clearer only when you reflect upon it. Literal meaning, you will never get the answer. It is one way of preserving this knowledge also. You want to say that the right student should get this, is you put things in such a way that only when you reflect upon it, you will get the answer. Vedvyas used this technique, right, for Ganeshji while scribing. He said, only when you understand, you can scribe it. So in between, he would put some kuta shlokas. Na sato vidyate bhavaha, na bhavo vidyate sataha. You should remember that is part of Mahabharata. Bhagavad Gita is part of Mahabharata only. So some verses he would put that you would need more thinking. So this is one of that shlokas, or one of the mantras which needs that reflection. Okay, the student is not arrogant. He is making this statement on the strength of Mahavakya, because teacher also taught in the same way. On the strength of Sampradaya, he says, my teacher said, in the lineage, this is how the teaching is there. And logic, Upapatti also he uses, and his own Anubhava. Our whole spiritual journey is only these four things. Listen to Mahavakya well, have Shraddha in Shastra and Guru Vakya, use logic, don't run away from logic, thinking that it's only intellectual. So logic will deepen our understanding. It will make that understanding as our natural way of thinking. And finally, I should be able to say that this thing is true because I see it as a fact in my life. Whatever is said in Upanishad, it should become our Anubhava. Anubhava not in the sense of unique experience. Means Phalashruti, whichever is there, that Phalashruti should be seen. After that, we don't need anybody else to validate this knowledge. We don't need anybody else to convince us also why we should study Vedanta, why it is important to put forth more effort. Even little bit we start seeing results, that deepens our conviction, our commitment rather. Swalpamapyasya dharmasya trayate mahato bhayat. In that shloka in Bhagavad Gita says, even karma yoga, if we can settle down, karma yoga, we can settle down. The results of karma yoga will increase our commitment to the spiritual path. It will increase our commitment in the efficacy of karma yoga. Why? Because bhayam has gone. Swalpamapyasya dharmasya. Dharmasya there means karma yogasya. Trayate mahato bhayat. Great fear is removed from that. If that happens, that much of taste is sufficient to keep going. Otherwise, the sadhaka can get very disheartened on the spiritual path. It's so many efforts I'm putting, but I don't see any result. I say, no, go slow. And pay attention also to what things have changed. Okay, so these were the three things which were connected. Mahavakya was there, logic was there, and Anubhuti was also there. All right. Next two mantras we can chant together. Yasya matam tasya matam, matam yasya na vedasaha, avidnyatam vijanatam, vijnatam avijanatam, pratibodha viditam matam, amrutatvam hi vindate, atmana vindate viryam, vidyaya vindate mrutam. What was the last line over here? Brahman is unknown as an object and it is non-different from me. And it is nirupadika, unconditioned. This was the main essence of this mantra. The one who knows Brahman in this way, that person knows it. One who says, I know Brahman, without these qualities, knows it as an object, that person doesn't know it. This was the most important mantra in the entire first 2 chapters. One was that Mahavakya, Anya Devatad Viditat, Atho Aviditat Adi. If you want the second important mantra, that is this one. Very helpful in our own meditation practice and all other Vedantic pursuits. Don't search for Brahman anywhere. It is available as witness of thoughts. Okay? And we saw the more detailed presentation by Bhagwan Shankaracharya ji. He said this understanding should bring fearlessness. So that we should reflect upon nature of this drashta, know that drashta is asanga, know that drashta is witness of time, that which doesn't have any kind of modification, that which is unborn. So on every lakshana, we can spend one whole meditation session. Part of your meditation will be shifting attention from thoughts to sakshi. That football game only will take time. Every time you start with thought, mind will go with some thought. It will again start some other story. So after a lot of practice, it will settle down. Thoughts won't be as rapid. They won't be as quickly rising. Now at that time, I should shift attention to Lakshana of Brahma. Don't be very happy at that point, because it's only 50% meditation. We are interested in Viparita Bhavana Nivritti. So I should be able to remove erroneous notions about Aham. So for that, I have to meditate upon Lakshana of Brahma. Okay. We saw this very elaborately. All darshanas we saw, different schools of thoughts interpreting the word Pratibodha Viditam Matam. The main thing is thoughts become an object of consciousness. Pratibodha Viditam Matam means that. Not trying to search for consciousness through a thought as an object of thought. Okay. All right. Last one. Iha cheda vedi tata satyam asti na chediha vedi mahati vinashtihi bhuteshu bhuteshu vichitya dhiraha pretyasma lokadamruta bhavanti. This mantra spoke about urgency of moksha. That human birth is very, very rare. Having attained this human body, no matter what pursuits we are doing, that pursuit outside is not the goal of life. It is a means to get a pure mind, and through that pure mind, I should know my own swaroopa. If this much part, this intellect accepts sincerely, that itself is one accomplishment. To know what is my goal, that itself takes time. And then I have to start walking towards it, right? All sadhana chatushtaya is there, other things are there. But at least I know that where am I headed? And based on that goal, this sadhaka plans his whole life, right? Whenever he has to make choices, major decisions, it is revolving around the main goal of moksha. Okay. And also we saw different definitions of adhyasa. Sometimes we should do some quiz, Vedanta Sara, Kenopanishad, all technical terms. It's very good to recap in that way. That's the only way actually, in a fun way we can recap it. The main essence of this verse I found was, we are all born human. We are born human. Bhagwan's grace, we have gotten a human body. We should live divine and leave divine. Okay. Live divine means while we are living, there should be a lot of dharma and bhakti. That is a divinity, right? In Vyavahara. But when this sadhaka leaves, drops this physical body, the thought should be that I am not this jiva. Leave means that, Pretyasmat lokad amruta bhavanti. It's a translation of that. While leaving this physical body, firm knowledge should be there. I am not this body. I am not this mind, I am none of these conditionings, and contentment of having lived a good life. That is this part. Bhuteshu bhuteshu vichitya dhira. Means while living in this world, he sees Bhagwan in each and every jiva. In Vyavahara, he has recognized that Chaitanya as a substratum of creation. Or if you say from devotional standpoint, he doesn't see people as people. He sees people as Bhagwan. He sees creatures also as Bhagwan. That is our Vyavaharik divinity. But through Jnanam, this knowledge should come that I am divine. I don't have to become divine. I don't have to practice divinity. My essential nature is Brahma, which is divine. Okay, so with that we conclude our reflection on the first two chapters. In the summer break, I would encourage all of you to go back and revise Bhashya. If you can just read it, that will also be nice. All the recordings are uploaded. You can also go back and listen to them again. As I mentioned, when we meet back again after summer, we will start with Ishvara Siddhi Prakarana, a very beautiful portion on what is the nature of God. Why do we need God? So main reason is for our sadhana. Secondary benefit is if you are teaching Bal Vihar. Whatever question anybody can ask, everything Bhagwan raises. He says, let me raise this question, let me raise that question. And then he will answer through logic. Okay, so we'll reflect on that.